Okay, the following video is for you to visualize, kind of like see some options on how to start your ATM machine project. Remember that this project is going to summarize many of the things that you worked on APCS principles during this unit. We will use array lists. We will also use loops. We will use conditional statements and other topics that we have covered during this course. First thing that you need to understand is that you may use global and local variables. The whole idea of not using global variables is to kind of like make sure that these variables are not modified by the methods. And what we're going to do is that we're going to combine a couple of things to make it easier for the ATM machine to work. So the first thing, remember, is to import the java.util, and this will allow you to use the random, the scanner, the array list, and other classes that you might need in this project. After we have created the import Java, now for our scanner object, we're going to make it global because we're going to need the scanner throughout the whole program and within different methods. So in order to create this scanner object, I'm going to say this private static scanner, and I'm going to call it a reader, right? And I'm going to initialize right away the scanner object so we can use it across our program. And then we're going to start talking about which ones can be global variables. Okay, so some of you, it is mandatory to create 5 different lists. Okay, and what I'm going to do is that since I'm going to use or modify those lists within the methods, it's better to create those lists as global variables. Then you can add the information inside the list within the methods if you like, or you can add them inside the main method. Okay, so as I said, there you have the 4 different lists that you might need. Okay, in case that you need an extra list, you can use it, but it would be an array list of names, an array list of account, which is going to have the account number, and we're going to have a double balance. We're going to use a double just because it allows more digits. Okay, so we'll allow more digits than an integer number, and we will have a password, which is going to be a string because remember it's going to be an alphanumeric account, so it should have letters and it should have numbers. So that is the requirement. Okay, so after we have created these as global variables, we can start creating our different methods. And basically, the methods are the different behaviors or things that you would have to do in your program. And this, as long as we do the methods, we're going to create the methods in the main. So as I said, divide and conquer, you should start like very, very simple. So the first thing is creating a menu, and here we're going to create a public or a private static void menu, because the menu is something that you are going to go every time that you finish a method. So this one does not have to return anything and does not have any parameters. And the thing is that the whole point of creating a menu is that it's very simple and you can access it from anywhere. So this would be kind of like the only method that does not have the requirement of returning something or having parameters. Okay, so here we have our first menu option where we say system.out.println, and then we're going to give them in one single line. I'm using the \n so we can show it in a different line. And it says 1, withdraw, 2, deposit, 3, transfer, 4, check your balance, and 5, change your password, which is going to be the 5 different methods that you are going to use. Then automatically we should have the scanner read our option, and here we just have it to insert it as an integer number. Now, depending on these options, we're going to create the if else statements. Okay, and this is just if one, it will go to withdraw, two to deposit, three to transfer, and that's how we're going to call our different methods. Okay, now we haven't created our methods yet, so what we're going to do is that we're going to modify these methods depending when we create them, because we're going to have some parameters and we're going to have some return methods that are going to be needed for now. So we're going to leave the sub methods, and we are going to leave them so we can create the methods later on. Okay, so we have now each of the methods, or each of the conditional statements, just if the option is equal to 1, if option is equal to 2, if option is equal to 3, 4, and 5. And depending on those options, we are going to jump to another method. Okay, so at this point we're going to start creating the methods, and we're going to start populating these conditionals when we have the method definition. Remember that the method definition has a couple of words that are extremely important in order to create our method. One of them is the modifiers. We have the name of the method, we have the parameters, and we have the return values of each method. Okay, so in order to keep this organized, I'm going to minimize the menu method, and let's start with the first one. So the first one is the withdraw method, and here we need to think, what is that I need to do, and what do I need to modify, and if I have to return or not a value. Okay, so every time that we make a transaction in an ATM, it is just the verification that it was properly done or not. So every time that we do any of these operations in the ATM, what the method is going to return is just a true or false, depending if the transaction was available or not. So every single method that we use in this ATM is going to return a Boolean. So private, remember static, Boolean, which is going to return a true or false if the operation was available or not, and we're going to call it withdraw. Okay. Now, here's something interesting. Every time that you do an operation, the system has to verify who is the person from the list that it's accessible to this work. Okay. Okay, so there are two things needed in order to verify if the user is actually a user of the bank, and we're going to ask for the person to enter the account number and then enter the password. With these two pieces of information, we need to go and verify who is the person that we're actually doing this operation to. So in order to do this in every single transaction, we are just going to create another method where we have the list with all the users of the bank, with all the bank accounts, with all the passwords, and this method is going to verify the position of that person within the lists. Okay, so we're going to create a new method, and this is going to be like a method that is going to verify and is just going to bring to us or return the position of that person within all the lists. So we're going to create another method called private static, and we are going to return an integer number. Okay, and this integer number is just the verification of the position. Okay, so verify user, we're going to call it verify user, and we're going to send two strings, and these two parameters are just the account number, and this is going to be a string. Okay, and of course we are going to send the other one, which is another string with the password. So we're sending these two variables in order for this to verify the user. Okay. Okay, so before we actually populate all the lists, we have to make a small modification right here. Instead of password, we are going to put pass, because we don't want to confuse Java with the password of the list that we're using right here. Okay, so we're going to populate the lists, and here are the lists with the names, and we added all the names, we added all the account numbers, the passwords, and the balance of each. Now remember, John is going to be the first one, so position 0, this is the account of John, this is John's password, and this is John's balance. Okay, so we have the 4 lists, okay, and with each of the names. Now we are going to verify if the number, the account number, and the password that was sent from the withdraw method actually works, okay? So basically what we're going to do is that we're going to check if the password exists in this array list, or I'm sorry, the account number exists in this array list, and if the account number within that position is equivalent to the password in the same position. So the first thing is that we need to verify if that password or that account actually exists. And we're going to use an enhanced for loop for that. So it's very simple. We're just going to create a string account, and we're going to traverse the whole account array list. That way we can look for the account. Unfortunately, the problem with the enhanced loop is that you don't get the position, and in this case we actually need the position. So we're going to modify this for loop for the traditional for loop that we have done previously. So we're going to say int I equals 0 from to I less than we're going to say account dot size, and we are going to say that we're going to increment 1 by 1. So that way we can traverse the whole thing, and if it finds the account, we're going to return, or we're going to get the number I. Okay, so we're going to create a new integer, which is the position of the account. I'm going to start it in 0, and let's see what happens if it finds it. Or let's change it to -1, because if it doesn't find the position, it's really good to know that the account was invalid. So let's ask if the account number, which is on the top, account number is the same. So we say dot equals to the one in the position, so that would be account dot get in the position I. If this is true, then we are going to make position equals I. Okay? If it finds it, then it's going to return the position. And then it's going to continue looking for more and more accounts. It is impossible that 2 accounts have the same number, so we can add that as a prerequisite. So if the account number is equals to the get account. Okay, so there is a possibility that after doing the whole for loop, the account was not found. So after it finished the whole for loop and position is still -1, then it needs to return a message or return an integer saying that it's -1, and that we're going to play with that so we can say that the account wasn't found. So if position is equal to -1, after this is finished, we're going to return -1 just because that way we know it wasn't found. Otherwise, okay, just in case this happened, then we're going to continue and look for the password. Okay, now that position is the password that we need. So if the account was found, so account number, so that's the one that we're looking for. Sorry, not the account number. If the position, because that's the one that we're looking, if the position coincides with the same one, then we say that this is a valid user. Okay, so we're going to say that if the password or the pass that it was sent, this is the password that the person entered, okay, is equals to the password in the same position, that we found, then if it's equals, then we can actually say that it's verified, and we're going to return that position. Okay, so this is very important because when we return the position, then every modification has to be done with that position of the person, which is going to be the one that we are finding. So I think this verification method is the key or the most important part of our program, because this is going to allow us to know what position is the user. Okay, and that way we can modify all the accounts. Okay, so again, if this is not true, then we're going to put an else, and we're going to return -1, because that is the only way that the password does not match the account number that was entered, because that's the other possibility. If they entered an account number that it's inside the bank, but the password does not match that account number, then it has to return -1, and that's how we're going to know that the user is not valid, or the password is not correct. Okay, so now our private int verify user method is done, and that way we can always go and verify if the user exists in every single transaction. So I'm going to minimize the verify user method, and I'm going to go back to withdraw and see if now it works. So it's very simple. Now that I have created the verify user method, I just need to verify the user. Okay, verify user, and remember that it's going to return a position. So I'm going to create a position here in position, and I'm going to call verify user. Okay, and remember that verify user requires an account number, which is the one that the person accessed, and it requires a password that the person already typed in. Now, with this method, I'm verifying the position, and after having the position, now I can easily make this transaction. Okay, so there are two options. One, if the position is -1, it's because the user was not verified. So we need to say that if position is equal to -1, then it's just going to return false, because remember that we need to return a Boolean from this. So it's going to return false, and the transaction was not available. And here we can say that either account or password are incorrect, and then we return the false, saying that the transaction was not available. Okay, and then if this is possible, then we have the else. So now from the position, we are going to verify if the balance, so if we're able to withdraw that money from the account. Okay, so first of all, we need to verify if there's enough money. Okay, so we're going to check if. Okay, after we do this, we're going to ask how much money we need to withdraw. So system.out.println line, enter amount to withdraw. And here it's important because we need to create an integer, a double of the amount that we're going to withdraw, and we are going to get it from the reader. Okay, next double. That way we can store it in the amount. And then we need to verify if this amount is greater, okay, than the actual balance in the position that we have. So remember, balance is the money that we have, and if it's greater than the position, because we know that's the person, okay, then if it's greater, then this transaction is not doable. So we're going to return false, and we're going to say that this transaction was not available. Otherwise, if it is less than balance, or equal than balance, then we're going to withdraw from balance. And here we're going to use a method from balance dot set, and we are going to set the position, which is the position that we found, and we're going to say that it's the balance, that the current balance that we have in that position. Okay, and we're going to subtract that amount. Okay, So basically what we're doing is that we're setting a new balance in that array list. Okay, we're just setting a new balance in the position that we know because that is the person that we're getting the information from, and we are getting that balance. And then finally, after this, we're going to return true, so we know that the transaction was available. Okay, now our withdraw method was created. Okay, now after this, we can use verify user in every single method that we use from now on. So I think that with this example, you guys can finish all the other methods. Now, what's missing? Of course, in the menu, we need to call the withdraw. If it's option 1, we're going to make it go to withdraw. And here we always have two options, if the Boolean is false or the Boolean is true. So we say if the return is false or true, then do this or not. So if option 1, I am going to create a Boolean transaction, and we're going to call withdraw. Okay. So after we call the withdraw, it's going to go over here. It's going to do it's going to ask for absolutely everything, and then I'm going to get either true or false if the transaction was available. So if transaction is equal to false, then just say system.out.println, say transaction not implemented. Okay, and otherwise, transaction successful. Transaction successful. Okay. Okay, so that way we just know what's going on. Now, something that you want to do is that this menu is going to be inside a while true loop. So you always get the menu after each transaction. Okay, so when on my void main, when I call the menu right here, I'm going to make a while true, and this is going to be forever, and I'm going to call the menu constantly. Okay, so I call the menu, it comes over here, it asks for the options, then if it's option 1, it's going to go to withdraw, which I'm going to get a Boolean, and it's going to say the transaction is implemented or not. So after each of these options, I'm going to go back to menu. Oh, it finishes, and then it will go back to menu again. Okay, so let's see if this works. Okay, so I'm going to run the program now. And here I see the menu. So it says select your option, withdraw, deposit, transfer, check balance, change password. And I only have, remember, the first method completed. So I'm going to press 1, and it says enter account number. Okay, now you guys might get an error, and here I'm going to make it visible, and I'm going to tell you how we fixed it. Because when you ask in Java for an integer number and then you ask for a string, it jumps. Sometimes the reader, that reader object just doesn't feed the line. Okay, let me show you again what's going to happen. So I'm going to press 1 for withdraw, and you see that it asks for the enter account number and immediately asks for the enter your password. So the feeder, the line that should feed this account number, it's being skipped. So it's a very simple fix. Before the account number, before you ask for the account number, you just ask for it again. So you make the account number equals reader.nextLine to actually make the program wait for that line. And that is a very simple fix. And now you're going to get the account number, as I told you. So we're going to say withdraw. So it says enter your account number. Now we're going to enter an account number, one of the ones that we did, maybe this first one from John. Okay. And I'm going to put it over here. And then the password has to be this password. Remember the first password, because that's the one that we made it coincident. Okay. Now it has to be this password, right? Now it says enter the amount to withdraw. Okay, now enter the amount to withdraw would be, let's say, 500,000 pesos, and enter, and it says transaction successful. Okay, now in this transaction successful, it brings me back again to the menu, and we're going to do another withdraw. So enter the account number. This time I'm going to select position 2. Okay, and I am going to say that this password does not match. So position 2, and I'm going to just type in whatever password doesn't match the one that should be. So it says transaction not implemented just because the verify user method gave me that information. Okay, guys, so I hope that this is not the complete program, but I think that just developing that withdraw method this way, you guys can complete the whole program on your own. So good luck, and good luck with ArrayList, and pretty much we're doing everything.